Hey everyone, Alkali Layke here, coming from my nerd room where I make all my cosplays, and I'm going to talk to you about foam today and how to cut foam. Now I know there's already a lot of videos out there on how to cut foam, how foam works, all of that, and there's just a lot of resources to sift through. So I'm going to make this as easy as possible, show you how to avoid some simple mistakes and the tips that I use to get nice, clean cuts in foam. So first things first, you'll probably be starting with a pattern. I borrowed this pattern from Bill Duran of Punished Props, and this is from his Mandalorian helmet, which I've already made. So I thought I'd show you how to make straight cuts perfect and how to make an outer bevel and an inner bevel, and this is the perfect pattern to show you on. So again, this is from Bill Duran from Punished Props. I already made this pattern in two different pieces. This first one is to show you how to make an outer bevel, and the second one is to show you how to make an inner bevel, and then straight cuts on both. The most important thing to think about is your knife. I like these blades. I'll link them in the description. They're just from Amazon. You get a whole box of them, and you actually get replacement blades in them too. So it's very affordable, super affordable, and they just snap off at these edges, and they lock, which I really, really like. So you can move them and then lock them in place so the blade doesn't slip. That's one thing I really like. And the second thing to know is to keep the blade really sharp. I've noticed a lot of people just go through tons of knives, and I sharpen my knives as I go, especially if I'm cutting a lot of pieces and I need super, super nice cuts. So one thing I like to use is this. It's not Pampered Chef. It's like a knockoff brand. I think it says Priority Chef. Yeah, Priority Chef, something like that. And I sharpen my blades in between, and these can go quite a bit being sharpened before having to put a replacement blade in. There's a coarse side and a fine side on here. I know a lot of people use knife sharpeners where you hold that metal stick thing. I don't know the name of it, you guys. And then you sharpen your knife on that. But I just run it through here. It's easy. Is there a better way? Maybe. Is this the way I use? Yes. So it works really well. One thing to consider when you are cutting foam is the thickness of the foam and how far your knife can go in without cutting through the foam if you are making halfway cuts or other cuts. We're not going to be doing that today, but I do want to cover it, and I'll probably cover it again in another video. But one thing you can do is set your knife on the edge of the foam to find out where the thickness is. This goes to about the 1/4 inch section right here. And you can use a black Sharpie, a dark Sharpie. I'm just going to use this because I have it in front of me right now. And you can actually mark on your blade how far it is to cut all the way through the foam. It's also kind of nice in beveling. If you use a black Sharpie, that'll stay a little bit longer. This will probably come off. Also, when cutting through foam, it's important not to have a large section of your blade out because it will get bendy and have a tendency to break. So I'm going to have about 2.5 clicks out on this knife, and that's plenty to get through this 10mm of foam. And one thing to consider here is that this is an outer bevel, which means I'm going to have to start out from where the end of this is. So on bevels, you actually want a little bit more, maybe 3 clicks out for bevels, because this blade needs to bend a little bit. So we'll start with an outer bevel. And I like to start cutting before you need to. So this outer bevel starts here and extends all the way down here. And most people would probably start right where they need to, but you'll get a smoother cut if you start farther away. To get an outer bevel, I'm going to start my knife at the edge of that line I made. And that'll give me a pretty good idea. I often stand, so I'm going to stand right now when I'm cutting because I can flex my abs, I can get a nice firm footing. On bevels, it's important to start before you get to the edge of the foam and then keep your blade focused out. And then I start curving the foam, not the blade. And the more you can not stop, the better off you are. So I'll show you a couple stopping points I've had, but rotating the foam on a bevel is really important. So you'll see me turning this foam as I go. Why is this important? Because a lot of foam smiths who have YouTube channels, have a lot of power tools that can cut bevels. I do not have a bandsaw, so I actually cannot cut bevels right now with a power tool. So I've learned to cut really nice bevels on my own, and that's how I do it. Now, the reason we didn't cut the straight line first is because if you would have cut the straight line first, you would have missed out on the outer bevel on this side here. Now to cut the straight line, I'm gonna pop this through my knife sharpener again. I probably excessively sharpen my knives, but I just like really smooth cuts. Now again, pop the blade back in, about 2.5 clicks. Lock your blade. I like to stand up. And then you kind of have to decide, are you cutting on the outside edge of your pattern or the inside? Most of the time I cut on the inside of my marker, only because the marker is going to give you a 1 to 2 millimeter amount that's off of your original pattern. Now on this bevel, I went outside of it because it's hard to control, and that's fine because it's a bevel. But most of the time I decide ahead of time, am I going to cut on the outside of my Sharpie, which extends all my patterns by 1 to 2 millimeters, or am I going to cut on the inside of my Sharpie line? So I'm going to make the choice to cut on the inside, and I'm going to start before I actually get to the foam. This is important because you don't want stop marks in your cuts. I'll show you what a stop mark looks like, but any stop marks are just going to cause problems with putting seams together. So I'll start here and I'll start moving forward, and I'll make sure that I'm cutting on the inside of this Sharpie line. Again, because I don't want to extend all my pattern pieces. Straight through. And there we have it, a nice outer bevel. I'll turn this to the side so you can see, nice and smooth. There are very little stop marks. Let's get up close here. So you can see where I started, and then you can see when I hit this turn, I got a slight, it's hard to see on the camera. See if we can get that to focus in. It's hard to see. You know what, I did a pretty good job, dang it. There's a slight stop mark right here in my blade, just a little bit. And then there's a more noticeable one here. Not a big deal, but that's how you do it. Move the foam piece if you're making an outer bevel and you don't have a bandsaw. Pretty good. Pretty solid. Oh, there you can see it right here. A slight stop mark in my blade right at the bottom. All right, now we're gonna move on to an inner bevel, which I think are much easier than outer bevels. Again, sharpen our blade. I sharpen my blades a lot. I just run it through the fine side. Again, there's many blade sharpeners out there. I'll try to find this one on Amazon for you and link it below. If I can't find it, I'll find one close. This is easy for, you know, people like me who don't feel confident enough to run them on a blade sharpener. On an inner bevel, same as the outer bevel, we are going to start with the curve first and finish with the straight line last. So about 3 clicks or 3 of these lines that are on the blade out. There we go. 3 of those. Lock your blade. And inner bevels are interesting. If you want to get about a 45-degree angle, see the mark that we made on the blade earlier with the gold? You can start with that mark at the edge of your pattern, and then you'll know you're hitting at about a 45-degree angle I've found. I like to start a little bit earlier and then compensate for that degree angle when I get the colored line to the edge of my pattern. So we'll start off, curve the blade out just slightly like this. I'll get this at an angle for you guys so you can see it just like that. You want that flexibility in your blade, but that's why you don't want too much because it can snap. So we start dragging the blade early. And then again, very important that you rotate your foam and try not to rotate your blade. And you'll get a beautiful bevel, almost as if you'd ran it through a bandsaw. And keep dragging that foam and rotating the foam and not your blade. That came out super smooth. There's the inner bevel. You can see one little stop mark here when I was running it through, but it's not too bad. You can, if you really cared, you could run that through your rotary tool, a Dremel, and there's one other slight stop mark here. But in general, this is a really nice inner bevel without having to use a tool, just a very inexpensive box cutter knife. So let's put these two together. We have an outer bevel and an inner bevel. There's the difference. This one pushes out and this one comes under the foam, just like that. Now, same thing as last time. I'm going to sharpen my blade. I can't emphasize enough how nice it is to sharpen your blades. Pop it down lower, about 2.5 of those lines on your blade. Lock your blade. Come in, start off of your foam. Go on the inner edge of your Sharpie line, and do not move the foam this time. We only do that on bevels, and pull straight back. Nice, super smooth line. What's really nice about inner bevels and outer bevels is they join together nicely if you're ever trying to put together curved seams. I'm going to show you now what it looks like to cut an edge incorrectly. So here's how an edge looks if it's cut wrong. And that's when people are going like this. You didn't even cut all the way through. You get these weird cut marks all in it. So anytime you're cutting, you want to put the knife down and just really firmly push your hand down on the foam. Put the knife in ahead of time and just drag it straight back. I'll often move my body back and not move my hand back. And you just get really nice cuts without any stop marks. And I hope you guys liked this video about foam, how to cut it. I know it's super simple, but we all need to start somewhere. And I realize a lot of you are starting new and I want to help as much as I can. So look ahead to more of these videos coming up. I have a lot of things I want to help you with. If you have questions or if you have a video that you want me to cover, just hit me up in the comments and let me know. Make sure to hit like and subscribe or follow me on Twitch. Every Monday I do craft streams on Twitch and you can watch and ask questions live. Thanks, you guys. Have a good day.